I always seem to have too many difficult pieces in my program. No, the thing is, a lot of the great pieces, or the pieces that are really, that sound fabulous, are often physically challenging, technically challenging.
Hello, I'm sitting here in the monastery of San Martin, Panario. I'm here with David Russell. David, when you're working with composers, and composers write stuff that might be a bit tricky or a bit awkward, how do you deal with that?
With some composers, maybe, as we were sort of jokingly said, you just don't say out anything and take a note out. That doesn't sound great, but sometimes one note less in an uncomfortable chord, suddenly we can flow through and make a much more beautiful phrase. I mean, it's great because we have an instrument that just sounds magic, total magic, and we've just got to keep on exploiting the beauty of our instrument. And you as composers have to keep on offering us pieces that make us or inspire us to do that. The performers are going to bring your pieces to life if the piece has that possibility.
Sometimes we're in a situation where we're not as prepared as we'd like to be.
Yeah.
So I suppose the question is, what do we do when we find ourselves in that position?
I mean, apart from just saying you've got to practice like hell, I mean, many more hours than you would normally be prepared to do. I mean, sometimes we just have to, I'm not going to get it done. Some people are much faster at learning pieces or at getting up to a reasonable level. I'm reasonably fast at that. But then to get it to the level where I want to walk on stage with it, I'm not so fast. I don't really like to take those risks that I used to a long time ago. I think over the years you learn to finger much quicker, to understand which fingering you're going to use, because you know how your own fingers work, and maybe when we're 20 years old, you don't know, and everybody has slightly different things that they do well with both hands. So that becomes much quicker as you get more experience. Then, I mean, I usually spend some time just in the pure preparation thing. I sort of like get it fingered, the fingering in. So I've decided, if you decide quickly, it's easier to change it when you see it's not working.
Right.
Whereas if you play it and then you play it one way, then you play it another, no. You got to really just go through it and get the whole thing fingered first. Then, if it's a new piece for a composer, say, try and make a video.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird, but you can make a video and you can make it in bits and put it together. You don't need to actually sit and play the whole thing straight to them. But by making a video, and then I do the editing, and you really know the piece much more, because you go into it, you spend hours and hours playing it, trying to play it as well as you can. And if you think, when you make a video and you get to cut it and you get to repeat many times, if it doesn't sound good, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sound good, you should have played it again. Whereas in a concert, if it doesn't sound good, I did the best I could in that moment. This is not the same. It's like making a CD or something. Yeah. If it doesn't sound good, you have no excuse. I mean, of course, we can all say, I only had 3 hours to do it. Well, that was a bad excuse.
Yeah.
So by making the video, which I've done with your PCs always, it forces us to really, okay, I'm going to make a decision. Then you watch a video of yourself, I don't like that. You start again, So that has, every time I've done that, it's always taken the piece to another level in a very short time. Rhythmic elements are super important for us to be able to achieve them, because if the composer has gone to all that trouble to stick in, 5.5 notes within this beat, and okay, we're going to work for it and at least get it. But right enough, the best thing is if you can understand what the gesture is, the musical gesture you're searching for, it means that we don't get bogged down on that semi-quaver that we're missing, or something. Well, it's going to be something less than that. Especially as the person learning the piece, we get stuck on making sure we want to do everything right first, and not necessarily do we see what the big idea is, because when you don't know the piece and you're still just reading it, fighting with it, it's quite hard to understand the bigger idea. we go to certain styles, you know, you play a piece by Fernando Sor, yeah, we can make it very different, but not so different, you know?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in a way, I'll disagree with you there, because I think, you know, people can play a piece to a level that, you know, it's in the composer's style, the articulation marks and so on. But in a way, this is where artistry begins. It's like, where can I take this now? How far can I push it? And I think in a way there's a kind of politeness about lots of guitarists, that they keep interpretation within a very tight little sphere. I often think of the most interesting musicians on any instruments in the middle of a huge ball, like a beach ball, which is the bubble of taste. And all the best ones are pushing at the outside the whole time to its almost breaking point, so that you've got this excitement.
But your word was almost.
Yes, of course.
You see,
absolutely.
it's the point where but your bubble in your music is much more expandable than a piece by Bach or Scarlatti piece.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that the Scarlatti is better or worse. And people can play it in many different ways, but where is the bubble? You
mentioned Scarlatti. I mean, some of my favorite Scarlatti recordings, Mikhail Pletnev's recording on Sony, which is incredibly romantic and expressive. And for some people, that breaks the bubble.
Exactly.
And for me, I find it exciting and enriching.
Yeah. The bubble is, or the grey area where I no longer like this, I hate it. You know, that area is different for each of us.
It is.
You know.
But in a way, you know, I would rather be incredibly moved by someone taking a risk and doing something a little bit out of the ordinary, and then on the next day hear someone who does something which goes beyond that, than hearing this kind of bland, grey playing that sometimes you hear, which is a little bit safe, a little bit polite, and in a way too respectful of the score and not respectful enough of the music.
Yeah, you know, I feel perhaps that there's the composer saying, don't respect my score, just make my piece sound beautiful. And here's the guitarist saying, follow the score. The composer told you what to do. No, it should be the other way around, you know.
But I think it's both.
We're both right, you know, in the sense that I think we have to make up, as a performer, have to make a major effort to try and understand what the composer has given me to take. And then I've got to make it mine.
Of course, precisely.
But first of all, I've got to understand what you were about. Yeah. If I just take the piece and do what I want, I want to understand what you're offering me and what freedoms you're offering me. And then once I feel that it's mine, then it's going to end up my way, you know, and we all have our own ways of approaching certain phrasing, and, you know, and that's what makes us each individual, if you like, you know.